Welcome, everybody. Joining from behind the chat, I'm sure you're joining from Irene's wedding. Hi. Julia's from Glasgow, representing. Excellent. Bye. Brighton. Rome. Glasgow, Sheffield, Worthing, Bristol, Spain. Anyone joining Bree and joining from America, but it's still early. Birmingham, Bath. Folkestone, Northamptonshire. Welcome to new folks joining. Please say hi in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from. Welcome everybody, it's great to see you all. Please say hi in the chat, tell us where you're joining from today. Hello, Paul from Dumfries, welcome. Joe from Essex, welcome. All right, well, we're so happy to see so many of you here choosing to spend your Thursday afternoon with us. I am going to share slides with you. Let me find them. Okay, so you should all be able to see myself and Bree. Let me add Bree as also a spotlight. Can we have two spotlights? Yes. So you should be able to see me and Bree and the slides and the chat box. Yes? Yes. Excellent. Okay, welcome to today's session. We are here to talk about confidence and fun and why those two things make work better. My name is Lauren Currie. I am going to be your host for the next hour. I am joined by my friend and collaborator, Bree Groff, who will introduce herself shortly, and we are thrilled to have your time and attention. We are happy to have this conversation. We ran this class last year and the feedback was so great that when we hung up the call, we said, we have to do this again next year because it was so fun. So thank you for being here. I want to ask you to settle and get yourself present so that you can make the most of the time. I always start upfront sessions by asking you to just take a minute, shake it off, close your emails. You know, I don't want you half writing emails, half listening in. I want your full attention. So do whatever you need to do to be present and focused. And we also want this to be a conversation. We hope that today will stimulate lots of conversation between all of you who are here, but also that you will take what you learn and what you hear in this class out to your communities, your families, your teams, your workplaces. So you might want to take notes. And the way that we ask for your participation in an upfront space is to use the tool that we call plus one. So I can see that there's lots of what we call bonders, women who have been through our program at Upfront here in the community who are already dropping their plus ones in the chat because they know how it works. But essentially, plus ones are a really nice way for Bree and I to stay connected to all of you because we can't quite see all 223 of you in the little Zoom windows. It's a really nice way for us to get a temperature check of where you all are at. And it's a nice way for both of you, all of you to stay connected with each other too. So if Bree or I say something that feels inspiring, interesting, exciting, useful, you put your plus one in the chat. Maybe someone in the chat will say something that you want to that really resonates with you. So you would put a plus one in the chat. It's a way, it's almost like a digital clap or a digital cheer or a digital eye contact, the things that we would do if we were all in the same space together. So, if you are ready to learn about confidence and fun and why those two things make your workday better, put a plus one in the chat. Yeah, see? Now, these do move fast. So, if that stresses you out and you don't like it, you can just close the chat box. So, use the space as you wish to feel good and to get the most out of the session. And now I am going to hand over to my co-host, Bree, to introduce herself and take us through a check-in.
Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Um, and it's 7:30 over here, so I'm getting a
Well
lot
done.
of energy from this group. Otherwise, I would be sort of like halfway through my coffee. Um, my name is Bree. I am the author of this book. Today Was Fun, a book about work. Seriously. It's my newest work baby. And I've been a company culture and employee experience consultant for a long time, which is where Lauren and I first crossed paths a decade and some ago. I'll get more into what fun looks like at work, but first, I want to start with this question. Tell us about a time when you felt this equation in your bones. Confidence plus fun equals better work. I'll ask you to put it in the chat. You can take a couple seconds to go ahead and write out a moment when you felt this. So you can start writing. I'll keep talking. It could be something like you were working on a launch of a product or a program and you were belly laughing with your team and you thought, I think this is going to be really good. And you put it out there and you got awesome feedback. It could be a time when you were mentoring someone, formally or informally, when you felt like I've been where this person has been. I'm going to give them a little bit of solid listening and advice. And that felt fun, and you felt confident, and they in turn felt supported and seen. It can definitely be a team get together. Love those too. So teen IC is coming in there. In the pub, that always helps for vibes. Certainly Friday lunches with your group. Keep them coming. We'll give you a minute or two to put yours in there. Oh, Laura, I love this collaboration with a pal that felt easy and fun. And I felt confident to be my absolute most true self. Oh, I love a work bestie
Yeah.
to make everything better. Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll keep reading yours. As an ex-science teacher demoing explosions. That's a good day at the office. A little explosion in chemistry. Great. All right. Well, I hope what that did for you is remind you that fun at work is possible. And so often that we think it's not. We think that we get paid because work is painful and people wouldn't do it otherwise, but that's just not true. We get paid because we create value. And so if we can find more fun and confidence in our days, all the better for us and for the work. All right, so let's move on to the next question. This is just what are you bringing with you in this moment on a scale of guinea pig? How are you feeling today? You are welcome to be very honest. If you are loving life and you feel like you are rocking your hairdo, pick a four. If you're in the States like me, maybe you're more of a nine, just waking up. I don't know what eight's happening with eight. It looks fabulous. Four, all about the hair. Love it. Nice. Oh, Sarah, or yeah, hope we feel better. Great.
Excellent.
You.
So we are officially checked in, which is a tool that Bree and I have used with our own teams and with our clients for many years. We're going to dig into the science behind why those tools are so effective later. But I guess I wanted just to talk a bit up top about why we chose this theme and why we wanted to have this session today, right now, because right now, what Bree and I can see across a lot of the teams that we work with, so of course, up front, I know many of you are here because you have been part of an upfront bond or you are a client of upfront. And I'm going to talk a wee bit later about what a bond is and what upfront is. But what we are seeing in those communities and in those conversations is that work is hard for a lot of people right now. There is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress and work and the world at the same time. The world is feeling quite joyless, for some very joyless at the moment. And we wanted to, double down on the core belief that Bree and I share that when you combine confidence, which is what we teach at Upfront, and fun, which is what Bree teaches through her book and her work, your days are better. And that means that collectively we feel more energized, we feel more creative, we feel more productive. And for organizations, that matters because retention and engagement demand confidence and fun. It's like we know that people will do better work and stay in their roles for longer if they feel energized and motivated. And we also know that organizations and leaders are working really hard right now to figure out how to help their people feel safe and feel supported during these times of during these challenging times. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of difficulty, and we can see and feel a lot of heaviness. We open our phones, we read the news, we look at Instagram, we talk to our friends and colleagues. There's a huge amount of political uncertainty. There is trauma, there is terror, there is danger, but yet we are still showing up. We're still coming to work. We're showing up for our family and friends. And we need to have this conversation. It matters because what that trauma does, it creates emotional fatigue. And people who lead teams and people who lead organizations, we need to figure out how to build organizations and teams and spaces that feel hopeful and feel action orientated and feel like spaces where that confidence and fun can exist alongside the darkness of the reality of a lot of the world at the moment. So that is why we wanted to talk about these themes today. And we're excited to dig into it with you. A little bit of context as to what Upfront is and what we do. For those of you who are new to Upfront, we are an online education company. We are on a mission to support and upskill 10 million women. And we work with clients all over the world, across the private sector, the public sector, and the charitable sector. And the way that we do this work is three ways: through bonds, BOND. Bond is the collective noun for a group of women. Give me a +1 in the chat if you are a bonder. There are 17,000 bonders in the world to date. And yes, I am counting because this is the impact we are here to build. We create content. We have a free newsletter, we have a free podcast. I deliver keynotes at conferences and for organizations. We host our own conference called Upfront and Centre, and we are an organization where women learn and organizations grow. For companies that take part in our bond, they see increased leadership, higher morale, more contribution, and the impact of their organization is supercharged. And now I've written a book. And this is why, another reason why we wanted to have this conversation today, because this is very new, hot off the press. It's going to be in stores on the 5th of March, which is like 28 days away, I think, because I'm also counting. And the last time we did this class, Bree had just written her book. Her book was coming out in like a week's time. So we thought how fun that now we are coming together again. And now my book is real and in the world too. Here she is. So I'm going to be sharing more with you on the content of the book, what the book will teach you, and why I think you should buy the book for yourself and your teammates. But let's dive into the theme of Bree's book, which is all about fun and how we make work more fun.
Thanks, Lauren. You all need to pre-order if you haven't. I've pre-ordered. I'm very excited.
And I've
Um,
given you slide control, Bree, so you can do your own.
oh, great. I can drive myself. Okay, it's perfect. Uh, yeah, the book is called Today Was Fun, which in some ways is a misnomer because there's a good bit of existential grief in the book for a book about fun, which I can explain. Uh, so I'd spent my career in, as I mentioned, consulting, helping organizations build cultures where people are having good days. So it's the sum of my professional wisdom. And then in 2022, I had caregiving just slap me in the face. My mother was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. She passed away later that year. So I took 9 months off of work to care for her. And everything that I had learned up until that point in my professional life felt professional, but it really hit me at a deeper level why fun at work is so fun and important. Um, in one moment with my mom in the hospital. So we were at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York. We were waiting for her appointment. I'm looking at all of the oncologists walking by and the nurses, thinking these people are heroes. Their entire job is to save good human days. That's the whole point. Good human days is the metric of success. And then I got a buzz on my phone. I looked down. I texted a friend back at the office, like, how are things going? And she said, things are okay, but I can't wait for this week to be over.
Hmm.
And in that moment, I thought to myself, oh God, we are doing it all wrong. Like there is going to be a time in each of our lives where we would do anything for more good, healthy days on the planet. And then here we are at work, wishing them away, trying to get through Tuesday, get through Wednesday. We only say happy Friday, although I'm on a mission to have people say happy Monday, happy Tuesday, happy, because if you're alive and it's a day, it's a happy day. And so the book is as much my own reflection on how I want to be spending my days and the confidence I have in the value of my days. Oftentimes, we think of our working days as not even ours, like we've sold them to an employer. And so it doesn't even matter if we're having fun, right? It matters if we're creating impact, it matters if we're getting a paycheck. But I disagree because the days that we spend at work are our finite days on the planet and they matter. I refuse to believe that I have sold them. So, um, so that's sort of like the bummer part of the book. The book is actually quite fun and interactive. There's QR codes and a crossword puzzle. And I wanted to bring you into a small part of it as a little bit of inspiration for today. So, oops, I thought I'd read a short excerpt. and it's about a British pub. I thought that would be appropriate because most of you are on the other side of the pond. It's called The Desire to Work is Innate. Brad, Arden, and I, Brad's my husband, Arden's my 10-year-old daughter. Brad, Arden, and I were sitting in the Who'd Have Thought It pub in Lockridge, England. We had lived in this gorgeous little village during the pandemic for 4 months after our lease was up in New York City. 3 years later, we were back visiting, enjoying our bangers and mash in the pub. Arden, who was 8 at the time, looked over to the bar to see our friend Lauren pouring drinks. Arden whispered to me, I wish I could do that. I could serve drinks. She didn't mean one day. She meant like right then. She wanted Lauren's job. And because I was 2 ciders in, I was like, that does look fun. And I kind of wanted Lauren's job too. I think it looked fun to Arden because she knows how to pour beer without too much head, and she wanted to show off her skill. I'm hoping Child Protective Services finds this adorable. I swear she doesn't drink it. I think it looked fun because everyone smiled at Lauren when she came around with their drinks. And I think it looked fun when she compared it to the alternative of chatting with her parents. Children have such an incredible can I try muscle that often atrophies over the years when we tell them it's faster if I do it. When you're older, I don't have time for a mess. And then we grow into adults in workplaces where managers say it's faster if I do it. When you're more senior, we won't have time to redo it. But the instinct to work is always there, however muted, because it is fundamentally alluring. We want to show off our skills, to have people thank us, to do something other than sit around. I hope you feel that can I try urge once in a while. It's your inner child just wanting to pour the beer. Okay. I wanted to share that example because sometimes we think of fun at work as separate from work. Like, oh, you're having fun now, get back to work. Or if I'm having fun, it's necessarily a happy hour or an offsite. But what I argue is that if we're doing it right, and not to say it's our fault if we're not having fun at work, but to say it's possible for the work itself to be the fun part, to actually feel proud and accomplished when we use our skills to make someone else's life better and richer. And I know that you've all felt this because you said it in the very first prompt we did at the top of this call. So, we have some tools for you, not just to inspire. Yes, fun at work is possible, which you all know, but how do I do this in a world that's falling apart when I've got stresses and people coming at me and my inbox is full? What do I do? All right, ready for some tools? Okay, we will move on.
Mm.
So, a couple of tools. Delight and connection are serious strategic tools. Uh, I say this because it's so common, I think, to think of fun, delight, connection as something that's superfluous to our work. Certainly doesn't have a business case to it. But when we really think about what makes us light up and want to contribute, it's those moments when we are having fun, when we feel delighted by what we can produce, when we are belly laughing with those around us. And then when you look to the most inspiring, brilliant minds of our generation, I think of, you may know her, the woman Kati Kariko, who is an mRNA researcher. Her work led to the development of the COVID vaccines. Her husband would say to her in the morning, you're not going to work, you're going to have fun. And she was. That's what kept her in the game for so long. And for those of you in professions where it's important to stay in the game, I'm thinking like nonprofits and teaching, where it's like you are waking up every day to push. You need to have that joy in order to stay in the game. So, how do we do it? Now, I don't know anything about your individual job, so I can't tell you to rearrange your workflows. But what you can try, any of you, is what I call a daily micro mischief. When you think of what mischief is, or a DMM, I'm trying to make that a thing, but it's like not doesn't roll off the tongue. But a DMM, a daily micro mischief is an act of confidence. Like you're willing to subvert some norms. It's an act of connection because any bit of mischief is going to be seen, appreciated. You're sort of uh doing a little prank. You could think of The Office, right? And then play too. Innovation really is just corporatized play. It's you trying something a little bit new, and organizations should want that. Okay, so here's some ideas. One, you can use Comic Sans in a presentation. This is going to make many of you cringe, and that's the point. The point is that it sort of riles people up to say, like, no, this is sacrilegious, and that's actually the fun of it. You can rearrange the office furniture. I always used to do this, and facilities would be like, you can't put the desks there. And I'm like, well, why not? And I know you apologize and be nice and everything, but try it. Uh,
I have a fun one on the office furniture. I had a friend who bought children's furniture from IKEA, like tiny chairs and tiny desks. And he was like a big 6 foot tall man from Austria. And he was like, this is hilarious because when the clients come in and it's all like, oh, we're wearing suits and we're going to be serious. And then we sit down at this tiny table and like our knees are up here and it just makes everybody show up differently. And I always remember that and thought it was really smart.
that's so funny. Um, Yeah, like if because your space and environment matters,
Mm.
right? Like how you show up. Um, that's so funny. Uh, you can also ask three colleagues their middle names. This one is a lot of times you'll get family lore, or make someone blush. I have before ordered umbrella picks for your office and use them in your coffee tea. Why shouldn't coffee be an umbrella drink? You could imagine walking by a conference room and seeing everybody with little umbrellas in their coffee. Like, wouldn't you want to be part of that team? Weird accessory. Ask your team what's the most hilarious way to solve our problem and get people thinking in a totally different vein as opposed to what's the most efficient or what's the most practical or most likely to get approved. I love playing music that came out the year you turned 18. Nothing will get you going faster than your teenage music. I love Pearl Jam, especially to work out to. It works every time. Maybe work outside, although maybe not in the season. You could add a little Easter egg in your work. If I ever have the chance, I put a client's name or if I know their pet's name or kid's name into a deck somewhere as an example. Try a non-sitting meeting, spend the first 5 minutes of a meeting learning everyone's pets' names. Pets are personal and dear, and people will definitely show you pictures if you ask about their pets. Uh, Although, fun fact, when I first wrote this, I wrote pet names, which is like schmoopy, but that's like a little, you don't want HR in the room for that one. So that's like a fun 401 kind of class.
Mm.
And then lastly, one of my favorites, schedule a disappearing meeting for Friday afternoon.
Yes. This
So
was the most popular one, I think. This is everybody's favorite. I think it's so smart.
yeah, so don't, okay, everyone secretly loves it when someone cancels the meeting and you have to be like, oh, we can reschedule, but inside you're like, oh my God, I get an hour back of my day. This is brilliant and magic. So put a meeting on for your team. My favorite thing to call it is a mandatory next action planning. So when everyone shows up, you say, oh, I see you're here for the mandatory nap. Meeting canceled, go do whatever you want to do for an hour. And it's a little bit of fun. And love these examples coming in too from Laura, Secret Easter Bunny, and a pet wall at work. It's just it's all of these things are ways to humanize the workplace, which in turn makes us feel more comfortable and connected to those around us. And friends, especially work friends, are often the way to more fun. All right, from here, I'll pass it back to Lauren.
Oh, I'm getting really into this. There's so many good ideas. But it's also making me think for folks who work entirely remotely, which is the case for me and my team up front. And this makes me nostalgic for the days where, there was a studio and an office to go to and with my other businesses. But we all work remotely. And, I think that's when gifts and music become your best friend. But also, I think it takes a little bit more work, so that you need to just be slightly more intentional because it's just too easy to stay in the work mode because you don't have that all the juicy like hormonal reaction stuff that happens when your human body's in a space together. So I would also love to hear your ideas for those of you who work digitally. So yes, let's talk about the check-in. This is the tool that I wanted to dive a bit deeper into for you because this is the highest impact to effort ratio of any tool that we teach in the bond. It is a tool that I very much swear by. I use in every conversation I have, whether it's in a big meeting with 10 people or a one-to-one with someone in my team. And so we're going to role model it and teach you how to do it with your teams, teach you the science behind why it's a good idea. And then you'll go and try it tomorrow. And then in a week's time, you'll email me to say, wow, it really worked and made a big difference. And then Bree and I will be very happy. Okay, so let's role model a check-in. So let's say it is a happy Tuesday. It's a Tuesday morning. We've all just signed into our product development meeting. I am chairing the meeting. Bree's just sat down. My colleague Alicia has also sat down, who I believe is also here. Alicia, if you can put your mic on and say hi.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi. So me, Bree, and Alicia sit down. So I'm going to say, welcome to the meeting. I want to just take a few moments before we dive in to do a check-in. And this is a tool that is scientifically proven to help humans work together, be more productive, and have more effective meetings. So I'd like you both to answer the question of what are you bringing with you into this meeting this morning? Don't overthink it, just what's top of mind. Bree, I'll ask you to go first.
Yeah, I'm um well, one, super happy to be hanging with you all, and two, my face feels itchy is literally what's happening. It's very dry. We have a humidifier. I bought a fancy new humidifier, and still like I find myself doing this because it just and I lather on the moisturizer, but especially my eyelids. It's so sometimes I'm like, how often am I doing this in a meeting just to get my eyelid skin to move? That's what I'm bringing with me.
Thank you for sharing. Alicia, what are you bringing with you into the call today?
Yeah, so thank you, Lauren. So I'm in the middle of a house move in the UK, and I am bringing with me quite a lot of baggage about ticking things off to get to the final line of the exchange point. So always in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, have I done this yet? Have I done this? Have I communicated? So I'm trying to be more present and breathe in my belly, but that is what I'm bringing in.
Thank you for sharing. And for me, what am I bringing with me? Today is the first time ever that I'm going to read aloud from my new book in front of an audience. So I feel a bit like "Ooh," about that because I've never done it before. Okay, so let's get on with our meeting. Okay, so as the chair of the meeting, I know that Bree is not feeling physically super comfortable, and I know that Alicia is distracted. Those two really important pieces of information as the leader that's going to help me make this meeting more productive for all of us. So what is the science behind that and why does it work? So the first thing that a check-in does is it creates safety. Now, I would imagine that because Bree's check-in was particularly honest, it gave Alicia permission to also be very honest. And so it makes people feel comfortable to share. Now, it's important to know that this is not about spewing your mental health over your colleagues. It's not about sharing anything that feels uncomfortable. There's lots and lots of different check-in questions. There's many on the internet. If maybe it's how do you feel out of five? You can hold up a finger. What traffic light are you? Red, amber, or green? There's lots of like easy ways to ease your team into this because depending on your culture and what your team are used to, it is a bit awkward and a bit cringy the first few times you do it. But then once you get into a flow, it's incredibly powerful. So the second thing that checking in does is it enables people to cognitively offload. And the science tells us that if you cognitively offload the thing that is distracting you, you're less likely to be distracted by the thing. So all three of us shared something that has the potential to distract us during that meeting. And now that we've shared it and put it out there in front of each other, it's going to take up less real estate in our brains. The third reason it works is it anticipates miscommunications. So if all of a sudden Bree disappears and then comes back and is slathering her face with moisturizer, I'm not going to think, well, that's rude and she's not paying attention and I don't appreciate, that's unprofessional. Because I know where she's at. I'm going to say, well, her face was itchy, so she needed her cream. I'm glad she went and got some. I'm not going to misunderstand that. Maybe Alicia answers, suddenly goes on mute, answers her phone. I'm not going to be irritated by that because I know she's in a high stakes situation, waiting on phone calls from solicitors and mortgage people about her house purchase. So you're less likely to misunderstand each other because you've taken that moment at the start of the meeting to check in as human beings. The fourth reason, and this is really important particularly for women and marginalised communities, and for all of you here that want to build workspaces where everyone's voice is heard and everyone's appreciated, is that the science tells us when you hear everyone's voice at the start of a conversation, you're more likely to hear their voice during the course of the meeting. And if I could count how many times I've spoken to bonders on our 6-week bond programme who've said to me, before the bond, I would go through back-to-back meetings 9 to 5 and not speak. That's a common thing that happens. Not only is that a tragedy for that person, it's also a complete waste of resource for your organisation because you are not getting the incredible skill and talent of that person that you've hired because they're not contributing and you're not hearing their voice and their ideas. So checking in is one way to make meeting spaces be spaces where everybody is more likely to contribute. The fifth thing it does, which we all love, is save time because we all know at the start of a meeting, you have that kind of 2, 3, sometimes 4 minute window where you're just kind of chatting small talk because you're waiting for people to arrive. And sometimes that can be pleasant, but a lot of the time it's kind of just annoying because maybe you don't know everybody that's there. Excuse me, maybe you're time poor, who knows? We want things to be effective. We want to make the most of our time together. So when there is a really structured way to bring everybody together, it saves time. And I would also, that's a really good build, Bianca. What we teach in the bond is, we can't claim to create safe spaces because what's safe for me is different to what is safe for my colleague who is a woman of colour or my other colleague who might be a queer woman or whatever that looks like. Everybody's experience of safety is different and that's dependent on your background, your lived experience, your characteristics. But what we can say is we want to create a brave space. We create a space where people feel that they can be brave. So that is why and how you check in. And I want to know, are you going to try this with your team? Put a +1 in the chat. Have you ever tried it with your team? What happened? I want you to introduce the concept. It's really important that you explain the science because if not, it does sound like, sorry, what now? What are we doing? Why? And you're just going to lose people. So it needs to keep coming back to this is scientifically proven to increase psychological safety, to make people more productive. And I would always start by role modeling. You go first, right? Because when you go first, people will copy and mimic the kind of tone that you set. It can be professional, it can be biological, your skin's itchy, your tummy's rumbling. It can be logistical, the school run's coming up and you need to make sure you're clocked off at 10 past. It can be silly, like you've worn new shoes today and wait, no, that's biological. What would a silly one be? Like
Oh,
it's your birthday party tomorrow, so you're like
yeah.
blowing up balloons at your lunch break. Like it doesn't matter. And you call on everybody individually. Try it for 1 month before you come back to Bree and I and tell us how it works. And I promise your team will feel stronger and you will have more moments of fun. It is a great tool. Now, Bree and I are going to have a conversation because we asked some of you to submit questions in advance, which we're very grateful to you for sending in. And we're going to have time for some questions at the end. So if you've got questions, kind of write them down in your notebook. I see Helen's got a question about getting buy-in from senior people for check-ins. Great question. Let's keep it till the end. So my first question is from Peter Bromley. Thank you for being here, Peter, who's a senior leader in a law firm, and he wants to ask me, it feels risky to prioritize fun in environments that value seriousness and professionalism. How would you respond to that, Bree?
Yeah. So I'm not out here trying to get anybody fired. So you got to know your audience, right? And so there's some environments where coming in hot with your like furniture rearranging and your flamingo shirt is going to ruffle some feathers or at least raise some eyebrows. But that doesn't mean you can't start somewhere. So now I was going to say I believe, but I know that everyone in your business who is a human, so excluding all of the bots that are coming in to do our work, every human secretly deep down wants to show up just as themselves. We are tired of putting on the business mask, of showing up as professional. Some people have learned this for decades and so are used to it. But if you can introduce even a small bit of humanity, it is amazing what I have seen how other people feel relieved and inspired to come on board. So, what this could look like in your dress, it could look like I have seen investment bankers wear socks with a frog print on them, right? They're still in their khakis and their button downs, but like you've got a funny sock. Well, that's something. It could be what I call a micro confession. It's very similar to a check-in, but either in an email or in a conversation. Instead of starting with, oh, I need you to send me this report, you can start with, uh, you know, sorry it took me a day to get back to you. We were busy planning for my daughter's birthday party. Anyway, if you could send me that report. It's a little confession of some bit of humanity.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry to jump in.
yeah, please.
I just love this, and my team and I talked about it yesterday, so I can share another example because I think it's always
Perfect.
helpful to hear like how people bring that to life. So my micro confession yesterday that I sent in a few emails was it's minus 15 outside, which it was because I'm based in Sweden. And so I said it's minus 15 outside, and I'm trying to convince myself that walking around the supermarket counts as like fresh air time. That was it.
That's it. It's so good because what it does is it just invites a little bit of humanity. And then, as Lauren said, it's not like you're revealing dark personal secrets. You're just simply cracking the exterior. So, prioritizing fun will happen at different speeds in different organizations, but you can start in any environment from wherever you are. And then, as you work your way up, people inevitably come to know, oh, it's okay to be a little bit more myself, to crack a joke, to have some more fun.
Yeah, because we got Andriana commenting who works in the fire service, and we had someone join in last time who works in data protection. And it's like, they're very high stakes, serious environments for good reason. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm glad Peter asked that question. Okay, Bree, you've got a question for me.
Yes, Lauren, what will I learn from reading your book? Will I get everything in your brain that you know about confidence? And I hope yes.
Yes. So for those of you who are new to Upfront, Upfront is 10 years old. I founded it in 2016, and for a long time, it was my little side hustle on the side of my other businesses. And then 5 years ago, I went full time. And in that time, we have supported 17,000 women. We also now run bonds for men. So we also support men, and we've worked with amazing organizations all over the world. And the bond is everything that I have learned about confidence for individuals, for teams, in one book, in one place. And the structure of the book is tearing up old rules that we have absorbed and learning new rules, because so much of this work is actually about unlearning the myths and the lies that often women have been taught because we live in a biased patriarchal society. For example, we all kind of believe that confidence is something that you're just born with. Like some people have got it, some people don't. It's not true. It's so far from true. So the book is 24 rules for life-changing confidence. So the first thing you're going to get is you're going to unlearn 24 rules. These will be beliefs, habits. Some of them you'll be aware of, some of them you will never have thought of before, but they will be rules that are guiding your decisions and guiding how you show up in your professional and personal life. And we will tear up those rules and replace them with rules that are focused on truth, agency, and power and progress. The second thing you will get is tools and systems to build a confidence practice that fits into your day-to-day life. It's a very action-orientated book. There's a lot of designers here. I am a designer by background. I was trained to take action, to prototype, to build, to test. So the bias towards action means it's full of practical tools. We call them micro actions that compound over time. So you will start to see a difference in your behavior. The people around you will start to see a difference in your behavior very quickly as you move through the book. And then the third piece, which is the kind of bigger picture one, is about growing your confidence and changing the world. Because there's a reason that I wanted to write this book right now at this time, because women's voices are being squashed and silenced everywhere we look right now. There is rising misogyny, there is rising hate, and we need women to build their ideas, to speak their truth, to tell their stories, to create art, to challenge the status quo. And in the book, you'll find lots of stories and research as to how to do that for yourself. But most importantly, what does that look like for our communities and our collective? Like, how do we come together to really support each other and back each other to put ideas and solutions into the world that will make things better for all of us? Please pre-order the book. Links in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, question for Bree. So for the leaders in the chat, how can they make fun feel like part of the culture and not just, something we do on Fridays or something we do when we have an off-site? And that's from
Yeah.
Amy Burns. Thank you for your question, Amy.
So there's certainly more structural ways to add fun into your days. So this could be the way that you protect time for brainstorming or for walks. But there's also a way in which leaders show up differently, like starting today, that can start to inspire more fun. I love the examples where you are actually changing your presence within the working day. You don't have to wait for the happy hour. So that's why I love a check-in because it's part of a meeting. And as Lauren said, if you are replacing the 4 minutes of chit chat where two or three people are talking about the weather with a structured check-in that also takes 2 or 3 minutes, you are embedding that into the way that you are working. It's also why I like the micro confession in an email example. You are building humanity in that way. But honestly, the best way that I've seen is when leaders decide themselves to take themselves less seriously. Like if we all know contexts where the person with the most power ends up setting the emotional tone for a meeting or for a gathering, right? Like if a leader shows up and they're stressed, they're like, all right, we need to go through what are the OKRs for this quarter? Let's start with you and go around. Like if I were in that room, I'd say, okay, button it up, Bree, speak quickly. Um, don't raise your voice, no exclamation points, and just try and not get yelled at. That's much different than a leader that comes in and says, like, hey, everybody, happy Tuesday. I'm so glad to see you all. Frankly, our numbers are looking a little rough, which is giving me anxiety, but I'm so glad you're all here. I trust this team. We're going to get through it together. Joe, let's start with you. What do you got? Right? Like, that's a much different way to show up and invite people into a space. Not to say that your budget planning meeting is going to be full of confetti, but if you feel like you are in it with other people, where you have camaraderie and colleagues and work besties, where you feel like you are not alone in the work, that is the precursor to fun. So that's one way to show up is simply declare that the the quality of your day, if you are having fun, that's the best way to inspire other people to start to value and have confidence in the experience of their days as well. And then once you do all of that, add on a, team gathering or, fun drinks at the pub. That's the icing then.
Excellent.
All
Thank you for
right.
sharing.
Lauren, what do you look for when you're assessing whether a team has a confident culture?
Yes. So we have developed a evaluation framework that we use with all of our clients that go through the bond, where we are measuring the return on investment. We are measuring how does the behavior change for bonders over the 6 weeks, and how does that behavior change impact your organization's infrastructure. So we know that teams with high confidence are high performing, high trust, there's a strong feedback culture, there is regular conflict, there is high morale. And so, how we measure that is all of our bonders go through a set of questions at the start of the 6 weeks and then again at the end of the 6 weeks. And those questions are based on self-efficacy, self-image, self-leadership, and self-development. And what we see is that bonders are far more likely to stay in their role. They are far more likely to apply for a leadership position. They are way more comfortable navigating change. They are more likely to mentor others. And they see themselves the way others see them. So they believe the positive feedback that they get. So when we are talking to organizations about, where the bond will fit and how it will work, those are the types of things we are talking about. What are the patterns you hear around? What does your performance data look like? What does your productivity data look like? Of course, our bond is specifically for women, so we also want to look at things like gender pay gap and representation of women at senior leadership levels. But ultimately, we're looking at the bottom line of a business and how building confidence infrastructure will create revenue for your business and will avoid huge costs because your people will stay in their roles and they will want to progress inside your organization instead of going elsewhere. So that is how we assess, culture. Okay, last tool or method that we wanted to share with you, which is the premise of my book, is the old rule, new rule method, where we are taking 24 rules, old rules, like confidence is something that you're born with, that we must never show off, that mistakes should be avoided at all costs. And we are replacing those old rules with new rules that are empowering and energizing and creative. So, what are the rules that we need to put in the bin around confidence? Right now, we are all this woman in our slippers taking out the trash. irritated because we need to get rid of these old rules. So many of us have been taught since such a young age that confident people are loud. And I say this as your most extroverted Scottish friend. It's not true. Confidence can be quiet, gentle, silent, soft. There is no equation anywhere in any of the data that equates confidence with extroversion or low confidence with introversion. It's not true. So let's put that rule in the bin. The rule that we've bust in this class today is that leadership must always be serious. It's not true. Some of the leaders that I admire and love to learn from, Michelle Obama, Taylor Swift, Doechi. I mean, the world is full of women leaders who do not take themselves too seriously. And when you see those moments when they don't take themselves too seriously, it's when I get a moment of thinking, maybe I could be a leader like her one day. And that's what feels really powerful for me, what it enables in other people. What Bree has taught us, what Bree has written a whole book about, and you must order her book because it is fantastic, is that fun is only for when you're not at work, that fun is for weekends, that fun is for Friday nights. I actually discovered a really cute fact about Sweden this week, that they call a Saturday, they call a Wednesday Lite Lördag, which means Little Saturday.
Oh,
So I guess in the UK we would call it Hump Day. They call it Little Saturday because they have a culture of let's go out and drink some wine and eat some cakes. Very, very high sugar consumption per capita. So they want to eat cakes on Wednesdays. Love it. So I want to ask you, what is the one rule that you are putting in the trash after you have spent time with Bree and I today? What is the rule that you're putting in the trash? What's the thing that really clicked for you when you've been listening to Bree and I talk and you're thinking that's just not true anymore? You know it's not true. Put your answer in the chat. The only weekends are for fun, that you have to be serious all the time, that confidence equals loud, that you can't be yourself at work, that to be confident you need to be serious. Yes, that confidence has to be loud, that you must be serious all the time, that giving the science behind the check-in helps, that the idea of rushing and wishing your days away. That confidence takes all your energy. Yes, it doesn't. It gives you energy when you find the confidence practice that works for you. That if you want to be taken seriously, you need to show up seriously. That you can't be professional and fun. Like, think how lovely would it be if you imagine somebody saying, oh, what's she like to work with? And they said, oh, she's super professional, does a great job. She's also super fun. I would love that. Like that would make me so happy. Being human at work is okay. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left, and as I shared in my check-in, I wanted to read a little bit from my book, which I've never done before. And I wanted to share something from the chapter, which is called You Are Learning to Love Mistakes. So the old rule that we're taught is you fake it till you make it. The new rule, the new upfront rule, is you mistake it till you make it. Okay, let's see. A crucial part of how you can help learn confidence is by learning to be kinder to yourself when you make mistakes. Most of us feel rubbish when we make a mistake. We talk to ourselves in a really cruel voice, and it makes us scared to try new things in future. We focus on our mistakes and by default ignore achievements and positive thoughts. Behavioral psychologists call this negative reinforcement. It's time to flip the script. Let me introduce you to one of my all-time favourite tools in Upfront's toolkit. The woohoo. Bear with me. At first, you're probably cringing. Maybe you're hiding behind your hands, convinced this is ridiculous. And I'm totally fine with that, but you have to try it at least 3 times and then you'll feel its strength. It's a tiny joyful moment, and it has the power to change your whole day and maybe even your whole life. So the next time that you make a mistake, it might be something small, like spilling coffee on your shirt, or something really big, like botching an important meeting. You're going to throw your hands up in the air and say, woohoo! Praise yourself for noticing, learning, and moving on. This act is not just about feeling good, it literally rewires your brain. When you respond to a mistake with a celebration instead of shame, even if you're faking the joy at first, you're interrupting your brain's automatic fear response. You're switching on its reward system instead. And this feel-good chemical boosts learning, creativity, and confidence. And because your brain can rewire itself, the more that you woohoo when you make a mistake, the more natural it becomes to meet setbacks with curiosity and courage instead of fear and judgment. And my favourite part is when you teach this unique tool to others, your friends, family, and teammates, you create what scientists call social reinforcement loops. And before you know it, mistakes become a source of smiles and learning rather than a source of anxiety and shame. I learned this technique from a facilitator called Belina Raffi, who is an improvisation expert. And I want to end by telling you my favorite, all-time favorite woohoo moment. So I'm running really late. My hair is still wet. I'm sweating. It's too hot. I'm frantically searching for my shoes. We've all had those types of mornings. And suddenly my bra just gives up on life and snaps in two. So I am standing there holding one cup in each hand like I'm about to take part in some sort of weird Olympic event. And for a split second, I really want to cry because I am late and I cannot wear what I wanted to wear without this bra. But instead, I took a deep breath, threw my hands in the air, and yelled, woohoo! And let me tell you, you can't stay grumpy when you're standing in your bedroom, half dressed, sweating, shouting woohoo at your own reflection. I ended up laughing instead of stressing, and honestly, it was the best thing that happened to me that morning. So I hope you will try the woohoo technique. I know there's lots of bonders here who have tried it and use it, and I know there's lots and lots of children all over the world and families who woohoo at the dinner table because bonders have taught it to their families. It's really useful for children as well, who can quite quickly, as they age, start to get anxious about making mistakes. So thank you for listening. Thank you for given me an audience and a space to practice reading from my new book. I think we were going to have questions, but we don't have time for questions. So what I'm going to do is we will put up a LinkedIn post about this about the class tomorrow, and you can put your questions in the comments, or you can reply to the email with the replay and send your questions in there, and Bree and I will make sure we get back to you. Of course, we can't end without asking you to pre-order Be Upfront because it is out in only a few weeks, and pre-orders make a huge difference, especially to first-time authors like me. Every time we get a pre-order, I do in fact do the same dance that the cat is doing. You can scan the QR code to find the link. It's available to buy in a few different outlets. And of course, we want you to also order and buy Bree's book, which is a brilliant book. I'm having a tour for my book, which I would love you to join. We're having an online session. We're also having book launches in Glasgow and London. So please come along and we can have some fun in real life. We would love you to share something fun that you learned online and tag Bree and I, because this session is for you. And when we see your stories, it makes us feel proud and happy. And I think that's it. Bree, is there anything that you want to add?
Go off and tell all your colleagues happy Thursday.
Yes. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Bree,
Thank
for
you
being an
all.
awesome co-host. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you all. Lots of love.
Thank you all. Thanks, Lauren.